Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. I'm Suzy Vance, and today I have with me Margaret Domin, who represents indigent clients in criminal cases. Your official title
is Assistant Public Defender assigned to the Homicide Task Force of the Cook County Public Defender's Office.
That means she's in Chicago.
Yes.
Welcome, Margaret.
Oh, thank you, Suzy. Glad to be here.
So, Margaret, this sounds like an amazing job. It sounds like a job that requires quite a bit of attention, quite a bit of energy, quite a bit of tenacity, and quite a bit of the ability to talk to many different kinds of people.
You hit it right on the head.
Oh, good for me.
I come across all kinds of people, from judges to other lawyers to people I would have never met, the poor, the mentally ill, on the south sides and the west sides of the city. I meet children, I meet my clients' children, I meet their parents, just across all walks of life, all races, all different, I want to say, lives that have been led. Yeah.
And you also have to, in some ways, sort of explain all of that to the jury.
Yes. The way to really have a successful jury experience is to have the jury empathize and know your client's story. What is your client's story? And that is an important element of putting together the trial. The technical elements are, of course, how to get the evidence in correctly, how to object to any sort of evidence the state is trying to get in incorrectly, following the rules of law, preparing motions beforehand. But really, when you have 14 people sitting in front of you and you are sitting next to your client, you want to make the client the star and to have the jury understand what happened.
What brought them here?
What brought them here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you will hear about the facts. Yes, you will hear about what happened. But how did they get there? And why are they there? And where they should go next?
Okay, Margaret. You've been doing this for a while. How many years?
22.
Whatever got you into this? Did you think for a minute when you were a kid you were going to be doing this?
No. I was supposed to be a veterinarian at one point, and then I wanted to study business and economics. I had to pay my way through college, so I thought I was on the route of efficiency. Well, I'm going to make sure I have a job after college. Nope. I discovered art history, and it became my passion.
Art history,
specifically medieval architecture and popular culture.
Oh my goodness.
For a South Side girl from Chicago.
You must have had a good teacher.
I had a great inspirational teachers. However, the most inspirational was the law professor who inspired me to do this work.
How did you meet that person?
Well, I had been working for a law firm in order to pay for college and I have a master's in art history, graduate school, and I was working at this law firm in downtown Chicago, and I never wanted to be a lawyer because
Why was that?
Well, I would see how burned out they were. This was one of those big corporate law firms, and they were all miserable. And I thought, I never want to be that.
Okay.
I don't want to be stuck in an office reading reams of paper. However, I became a legal assistant in intellectual property.
Ooh.
And, music law, patents, sweepstakes, it all sort of had a nice little artsy edge to it. And then I discovered that there was litigation regarding stolen artwork during World War II, which absolutely inspired me. It's just I thought, well, I love to travel, to go to Europe. Why don't I get into art law? I'll become a lawyer. And I hit law school with a bang. I quit my job. I was 33 years old. One of the nice 20-some.
That's how old I was when I finished law school. I went at 30.
Geniuses.
Yes.
Geniuses.
Because we had a little bit of regular life experience.
Correct.
Which counts for a lot when you're working with clients in the practice of law, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I think also our life experience also opens us up to new opportunities.
Right.
Because when I did go my first year of law school, I had quit my job. I was doing it full time, full speed ahead. Well, I didn't like it. I didn't like the classes. I was like, I hate this.
Yes.
Like,
it was
property,
like having to pay dues.
Oh, it was just, I don't want to know about torts. What is interesting about torts? I don't care. And then the one class that piqued my interest was criminal law.
Oh.
And Professor Kavis, he taught it with a passion, and I thought, wow. Like, this is just so fundamental to our society. And I have always been a people person. And one of the reasons I didn't want to become one of those corporate lawyers is that
it was paper.
It was paper, not people. And I knew I would, after the first year of law school, I knew I couldn't work during the summer. So I asked this professor, I said, where can I volunteer? I'm interested in this. I want to volunteer. And he was so funny because he said, well, Ms. Fancy Pants downtown lawyer, why don't you go volunteer on the south side of Chicago at the public defender's office at the criminal courts building at 26th and California.
Well, that's a different place than a corporate office.
100% different than downtown Chicago and the Magnificent Mile. Little did he know, I grew up on 25th and Drake.
Oh.
And when we were little, we used to walk past, well, you know, teenagers, we would walk past the jail and get all, you know, scare each other and see, you know, what's going on up there. But so I took him up on it because you give me a challenge and I'm going to take it.
Yes.
So I walked into this courtroom. It was better than TV. I mean, the characters, you can't write this. You just could not write this. The lawyers were so, especially the public defenders, were very unique, not cut of the grain. The judge was loopy. The prosecutors were like Darth Vader. They were cheating and trying to. And the moment I went in back of the courtroom and saw a human being in a cage, literally a cage, I'm like, I need to be here. I need to help. Like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And
this is a far cry from art.
It is. And I took the lead.
It's a different art.
It's a different art. But it just felt so innately right. Like, no, I have to be here. I have to know more about this person or how I can help the person next to him or her. And that's when...
Got you right here.
It got me right here. And art history did, years ago, get me right here. But I think this one got me right here and included people. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, and I love art, and I especially like architecture and spaces and how they define themselves. Mm-hmm. But this was living. You can say a piece of architecture is a living art, but you have to have the people around it and the stories of the people that built it, because that tells you how it was built and how it meets the street and what its function was. So this part of the law really combined the people aspect And I was just,
You were hooked.
I was hooked. I wanted to do this.
So what happened next?
So what happened next? I had to get a paying job because I had to, get through law school. My savings were, dwindling. So then one of my other great mentors, Bill Murphy, one of the best defense attorneys, he actually, when he was a public defender, he founded the Homicide Task Force.
Okay.
So he launched a group of attorneys that strictly represent people that are accused of murder. And that was during the death penalty, when the death penalty was still valid in Illinois. So it was amazing work, and Bill always took on law clerks. And basically I was just running around because he would have to appear in different courthouses, and he would give me a list of judges, and it'd get me a continuance here, a continuance there, and I had to think on my feet. I got yelled at, met all these great people in the courtroom, and that was the brilliance of it. And that's where I felt most like myself, is like talking to these people, meeting them, hearing their stories. So he got me through second and third year of law school. And the funny story was he did a murder for $50. He knew a
murder defense.
A murder defense. He knew a pastor that he had represented. He basically got him out of jail. And this man created a church and a congregation. And he said, one of my people are in trouble. You need to help this young man. And Bill had me do all this research. But, at that point, I didn't have a license. So I would just give him the research. Well, during this trial, it was a bench trial in front of a judge, not a jury. He said, go up there and argue it. I'm like, I can't argue, Bill. I don't have a license. You're going to get in trouble. He's like, no one can get me into trouble. You did the work. You get up there. You argue to the judge. And it was great. And it was a not guilty.
Oh, my God.
For a 17-year-old who made a terrible mistake, but we basically won on a legal theory of felony murder, which I had researched. But it was things like that stick out in my life, where it's like, just get up there. Just get up there.
Just go do it.
Just go do it.
Just go to 26th in California.
That's where I still am. So then I did pass the bar. I was still with Bill, and he wanted me to stay. He said, you've already, he said, being a public defender, it's all grand, but you're already in court. You're doing, you're arguing cases. It takes felony cases. It takes a public defender back then in 1996. It would take a public defender 7 years to get to a felony courtroom. So you were doing traffic cases and misdemeanors or domestic violence, juvenile.
Meaning it would take you had to put in your time in order to prove yourself, in order to move to the next level, in order to 7 years later get to felony trial.
Correct. And it was also a matter of attrition.
Yes, other people had to leave.
Other people had to leave. And Bill was like, you stay with me. You're already doing the work.
And?
I decided, no, because at that point I was 36. I'm a people person, but the worst part was asking for the money. Because Bill was obviously...
Asking for your salary.
Correct. Asking for the $1,500 up front before I go to court. I knew myself, like Bill had already established himself, but I knew myself, if a person would say to me, well, Margaret, I could give you 200,
but not 1,500, you would have been sunk.
No, I would have been sunk. And, Bill respected that. And it actually, by the time I got in there, it only took me 3.5 years to get to felony. So that was good. So that was great. Really good. And now I'm at the highest level, a grade 4 attorney, but you could have different assignments. And I wanted to be on the Homicide Task Force and strictly do that work, which is, and now I'm 58, and it is challenging right now.
Yeah.
It is really, I still have the passion for it, but it is really challenging in terms of just the actual, I think part of it is the physical part of it, but then also when you have 20 to 25 murders and each case is a special story, and you got, for me, it's like give 150% to each case. At my age, it's harder than when I was 45 or 50, even 50. Now it's like what I'm doing is getting more of the younger lawyers involved, and then I feed off of their enthusiasm, and I can convey to them my experience.
Yeah, you're already a role model. You're training people in a sense.
And that sparks my creativity for the cases.
That's great. That's fabulous.
Yes.
Wow, this is amazing. I wonder what's next.
I don't know. I have 2 big what's called career cases. They're media cases. The trial.
That means the journalists want to know all about them, and they want to write them up and all that stuff.
Correct. I represent one of the most infamous, unfortunately, clients in Cook County. It'll be all televised. And
when is this happening?
Maybe next year. This is the case of where, unfortunately, a young woman had her baby cut from her womb, and it's about as horrific as you can make it out to be. And so horrific that the only woman executed by the federal government just last year was for the same type of offense. So this and another case are so intense that I feel when I'm done with my commitment to those 2 cases, I think there'll be a crossroads, because the toll that each case takes, it usually takes about 2.5 to 3 years for each case to go to trial.
Right.
During that time, of course, I get to know the client. We have a relationship. I know his family. I know the witnesses. I'm working with a team. It's a lot. You want to try and keep the emotions separate, but you're a human being.
Right.
And this is another human being's life. And each case is its own life that goes through cycles. And after these 2 huge cases, I want to see, by then, where am I going next?
It'll show up, I promise you.
And I'm open to anything.
Well, it's clear you are, because you have been in the past.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Margaret Domin, for sharing with us what it's like to be a public defender.
Thank you, Suzy, an inspiration from and I know because I have a master's in art history.
Creating from the heart, the artistry of living. Suzy Vance, and see you next time.
Thank you.